Hello, it's Mac here, and today I'm talking about the new adversary mode in GTA Online called Vehicle Vendetta. So this is a new adversary mode that was added in a few days ago into GTA Online, and it is essentially a vehicle-based deathmatch, as well as an added bonus of power-ups, and those are some very important power-ups in this adversary mode. And there's actually two different versions of this adversary mode. There's Vehicle Vendetta, which is a bunch of maps, and all those maps are set, with stunt props. They're usually set in, above water or, in the sky and stuff like that. So if you fall off, you're essentially dead. And they're mostly symmetrical maps or mostly flat maps. But then there's also another version of this adversary mode called Vehicle Vendetta Street. And these are essentially the same adversary mode, just with different maps. And they are all based on the ground, so without any of the stunt props or anything like that. But overall, the maps in this adversary mode are actually quite good. I like them. I think I like Vehicle Vendetta better, the ones with actual stunt props and stuff. But Vehicle Vendetta Street, most of those maps aren't that bad either. There's just a lot in your way, and they're a little bit harder, especially if you're not a good driver, because there's less room and there's a lot more stuff in your way. Anyways, let's talk about the actual adversary mode itself. So it's essentially a vehicle deathmatch. That's the entire point. There's two different rule sets. One is a deathmatch, and the other one is a last team stand-in. So you have a certain number of lives. Whenever those go down, then you lose. There's another one where it's, basically an all-out deathmatch. And I don't know which one I like better. I think, both are quite good. And essentially, this is a deathmatch where there's vehicles, and you have to destroy the other vehicles. Now, there is a weapon that you can use, and that is basically a machine gun. I think it's the same machine gun that was on the JB700 in single player. So it's essentially that, and you use this by pressing LB on a controller, and it's essentially a low-powered, kind of slow rate of fire machine gun, and it comes out of the front of your vehicle. Also, every time I've played this deathmatch, it always seems to be supercars. I think there's another one where you can have sports cars, but nobody ever picks those because why would you? You're going to get worse vehicles if you pick a sports car. So everybody just picks a supercar most of the time. And the main draw to this adversary mode is to get the power-ups. And there's a total of 10 different and unique power-ups, as well as another power-up that you can find, which is basically just a random version. And a lot of these are similar to ones that are in Deadline, as well as in Power Play. And there are 10 different ones. So let's go through those. First one is the Beast, which basically turns you into a rhino tank. This one is probably the most sought after, and a lot of people go for this one because it is very powerful in certain situations, and it's actually quite fun. This one seems to be the most rare, though. I don't see it happen too often, and it only happens later in the match, but it's still one of the coolest ones you can get. Next up is Detonator, and I think this only spawns on the maps that are using stunt props and stuff, but essentially there's these red sort of areas on the map, and this is where the detonator will spawn. And essentially, you want to trap somebody on that, red area, and then just remove that part of the map whenever they're over it, so then they just fall off the map. This one, I've seen a few people go for it and, fall into the trap, but I don't see it happen too often. And, it's definitely a very situational type ability. And I think it only applies to the actual Vehicle Vendetta maps that are, above the sky or, above the water and stuff like that. Next up is Bomb, which lets you place up to 3 bombs around the map. And these ones, I think, explode on impact, but I think they're also on a timer, so they don't stay around forever. And they are quite nice. You can also shoot these, so if you don't want to run into them, it is quite nice, but, you have to have somebody trailing behind you for the most part for these to actually, kill somebody. Next up is rockets, which are essentially the rockets from the GTA races. And these are essentially 2 rockets that come out the front of your vehicle, and if they hit an enemy, they will kill them. And this one is quite nice. However, a lot of the time I was using it, they're very hard to use because you don't have any crosshairs. That's another thing, you don't have any crosshairs on your machine guns. And, I mean, it's decent, but a lot of the time I don't find these too helpful because either, maybe I'm just bad, which is probably the case, but I miss most of mine. And whenever I do hit somebody, you can actually kill yourself with this. And you can kill yourself with your own power-ups, which is, I feel, one of the most annoying things about this adversary mode, is that you can kill yourself, which I guess kind of makes sense. They don't want you to just ram into the enemy and then explode, but that's not the case on GTA races, and I don't feel it should be the case here. And it's kind of just annoying because shoot your rockets at somebody and they just ram into you, and then you kill yourself as well. This also happens even if you machine gun a vehicle to death. You know, if you use your machine guns and it explodes and you're near enough to it, then you also die. Which is it's just very annoying in my opinion. I wish that you couldn't kill yourself with your own power-ups, because that's not how GTA races work. You know, even if you are in a GTA race and you know just put like sticky bombs on the ground, you're not going to blow yourself up. You can't kill yourself in them, which I feel is kind of a nice thing, because you know if somebody hits you, you can still kill them without blowing yourself up. But anyways, there's also a repair one, which returns your vehicle back to max health. That's pretty self-explanatory. However, one thing that is nice, and one strategy I like to use it, is even try and pick these up, even if you are at full health, but don't press the power-up button, which, by the way, the power-up button is the horn. So it's pressing down on your left stick, and then you can have your power-up. However, a lot of these power-ups you can use at specific times. You can, you know, pick up a repair power-up, drive, you know, close to an enemy, take a lot of damage, and then you can still use your repair, which is quite nice. Next up is Ghost, which makes you become translucent, allowing you to drive through enemy vehicles and steal their power-ups. And I guess it could be quite useful, but at the same time very situational. And also it makes you invincible, which I guess could be quite nice. Let's say an enemy gets like the beast and they turn into a tank and they're shooting at you, you could ghost them, which I guess could be quite nice. Next up is Jammed, which forces the accelerator on the enemy team's vehicles. And this one is quite nice. Essentially it means that your enemies can't brake, or they at least can't stop moving, which I guess could be quite nice. Let's say you're getting chased by somebody and then you turn this on and then you make a right turn or something and then they just fly off the map. I guess that could be quite useful. And then also another one that affects the enemy team whenever you pick it up, which is Flipped, which essentially reverses the enemy's team's steering, acceleration, and braking controls. So essentially this swaps the triggers that, you know, so let's say your right trigger is, you know, usually your accelerator, that'll actually be braking now. So to actually drive, you'll have to use your left trigger, and then, you know, steering is opposite. It can be quite useful. Next up is one of my favorites, which is Deadline, and this turns you into the Shotaro, the vehicle from the Deadline Adversary Mode, and you have a line behind you. So if you're used to the Adversary Mode Deadline, then this one is essentially that, and you can drive around, and if an enemy runs through your line, then they'll die. However, keep in mind that you can kill yourself on your own line, so make sure you don't go through that. And another thing that is quite annoying about this is that if an enemy is too close to you and they run through your line, you know, let's say it's like right into, you can kill yourself from their explosion, which is just super annoying. I wish that you couldn't kill yourself with your own power-ups. And then finally, there's another power-up which is random, and this one essentially gives you a chance to collect any power-up aside from the Detonator one. They're all quite good, honestly. Some of them are better than others. I'd say like a Beast one, the Deadline one, as well as, you know, something like Rockets and Bomb is much more useful than something like Detonator or Ghost, which, while they can be quite good, they are definitely very situational. And so that's the Adversary Mode. And this one's okay, you know, it's not anything too special. It's basically just a vehicle-based deathmatch with power-ups, which I guess the power-ups do add some new life into the Adversary Mode. But anyways, some more thoughts on this Adversary Mode in the comments. Do you like it? Do you not? Also, what is your favorite map or favorite power-up? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments. Hope you enjoyed. Feedback, so appreciate. I'll see you guys in the next video.